thought it would
I think
randomly
we all
like,
had that same thought. Yeah.
and I just thought it would like randomly hit somebody in the ground or whatever. But like, do they actually do that, or is it just like a flying porter potty? Like,
blah 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 blah. Couch talk.
what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of Couch Talk. I'm here with no one other but the Jordan Fringe. He is a YouTuber, a streamer. He is from the Shadowless podcast, but most of all, he is a collector and lover of Pokemon. How's it going, Jordan?
How's it going? Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
The first thing I actually saw you on was on the Shadowless podcast, which is I guess the first thing we could talk about, because I feel like that's where most people hear you first for some reason, even though you do have a YouTube and other things on the side.
Yeah, I like the podcast itself, because of the other members, definitely brought a lot of newer eyes. So they're more familiar with Danny and Nate. And then, it's like, oh, who's this other guy here?
Right. I went in because trying to get Pokemon news, but while like driving to work, it's kind of hard to watch YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Like I think that was the first podcast that popped up when I searched it on Spotify was the Shadowless podcast. And I tried out
That's good.
a couple and I was like, oh, I've heard of Nate. I've seen his like Pokemon card openings and stuff. And then when I heard your voice and like hear the jokes and things that you say, I was like, oh, this guy is funny. I like this guy.
Thank you. I'm glad someone finds my my little humor that I try to throw in there sometimes. Someone enjoys it.
That's why I was glad to find the podcast and see different names besides, the main people that I guess usually talk about Pokemon on YouTube. But I've been wondering, and I know other people probably have, but when did your Pokemon journey pretty much begin? Like, how did you spark that interest in Pokemon?
Ever since it came to the US during the like original launch of like Pokemania.
Right.
Something about it, whether it was the games, the show, the cards, the toys, I was in right away. I started off with Red. Pokemon Red was my first Pokemon game.
Yeah.
I had the N64 games as well. Like I was a big fan of Puzzle League on the N64 quite a bit. And I loved the show, and I collected, whatever my parents obviously could afford in cards
Right.
at the time, and other various stuff. Like I have a bunch of vintage, albeit not in great condition, action figures from back in the day. Yeah, I've just been in it since, and it's something that's just kind of stuck with me because it's kind of grown up with me, and I think Pokemon's now at a point where it doesn't just feel like it's for kids as it did maybe back in the 90s. So it's like, oh yeah, we're putting this out there for the kids to enjoy, and I feel they've adapted into enough stuff that it's for all ages on any way you look. Like I think the show is well written. I think and that's for any age. It's not just catering to the younger audience watching. The card game is fun to play for all ages, and then the collectibles aspect now. I mean, if we had this stuff back in the 90s or back at least in like the early 2000s that we can have access to purchasing now, it'd be a different. I think the hobbyist aspect would have blown up for older ages way back then as well.
I always look at the new toys and I'm like, man, where was this when I was younger? And then I'm like, well, I'm gonna buy it now.
It's crazy. Like there's statues dropping almost every week on Pokemon Center's website, and it's like that statues aren't really like that's not what a kid wants. A kid doesn't want like I want a resin made statue that I can't play with because I'll break it. So it's very interesting to see the landscape change over the last 25 years.
It's definitely turned into its own sort of thing. Like I think when it first started, it was kind of just like another one of those cool like cartoon / anime sort of things from Japan, and it's sort of like turned into its own genre almost, I feel.
Yeah, I mean it's Pikachu, I believe, is the most recognizable now. Or at least in the top like 3. I'm pretty sure it's number 1, but if not, it's like Hello Kitty, Mario, and Mickey Mouse are the other ones it competes with for most recognizable thing in the world. But
Right.
Pokemon's the most profitable franchise of anything. And it's pretty easy to see why. I think you can ask anyone; they know what a Pikachu is, and it's just crazy to see how popular just the last few years and the last year and a half have been. It feels like the 20th anniversary with Pokemon Go brought a lot of people back to it with the app,
Yeah.
but something about this, last year and a half, whether it be because we all kind of had to be indoors a lot more, people got back into the hobby on all aspects of it. People who didn't care about Pokemon 2 years ago are fully in collecting and watching the
Yeah,
show and all this.
it's definitely been crazy. I haven't been able to get cards in a while.
Yeah, and it's not getting easier with Target now. As
Yeah,
of
I
today,
think mine are
announcing
starting to get virtual lines and all that.
Target just announced they're taking them all out of stores inside.
Oh,
Today.
really?
Today they said until further notice, at least, everything but like Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh is being taken out
Wow. Dang.
because no one's
Just
scalping
the other
Magic the
day they told
Gathering.
me they were doing the virtual lines.
Yeah, this was like a thing that just I think happened last night.
Wow.
That got announced because of another altercation similar to the Walmart stories we've been hearing that's happening with Targets, and even with the okay, you get into a line, you get like a one item purchase, and that apparently still wasn't working out. So I at this
Yeah.
point I couldn't tell you what the future is with cards in stores.
Yeah,
But I
it's
really do
definitely
hope there's a way to figure that out.
it's definitely crazy. I'm even starting to see the usually it was like a whole aisle of Pokemon toys and cards, and I'm starting to see less and less of just Pokemon in general in the
Yeah.
stores.
Last time I went to Target, where they have the the back end Pokemon toy aisle, which was just a section in the toy area. It wasn't there last time I went there, and it's always been there. And now it's just empty. And I'm sure if I go back there now, it's probably filled up with other toys.
Yeah.
At this point.
These items are definitely getting more rare and rare to find, which kind of brings me to my next point, which is what is the most prized possession that you have in the Pokemon genre?
Ooh. There's a couple ways. I mean, I guess I could take that. 'Cause, like I have, the arcade machines at the Snap Station, but that as much as I love them, they're only in greater significance because of the value and the journey to get them. Um, and I can choose something like that was purchased for me by my parents when I was younger, or from a friend, or made for me from a friend. But I guess one I've shown it off on the podcast and I've talked about it before, but the collector's case that has all
Uh,
the figures in it.
oh yeah.
Has all
Yeah, I heard
151
the
plus
podcast you talked to
Togepi.
that about.
Yeah,
That's
that's my
crazy.
biggest. That to
You
me felt like an
you
accomplishment.
actually you got that sealed in the original box still, right? Like not
Yeah,
even the box it comes in, but like the box it's shipped in
yeah.
even.
The actual Hasbro box
That
that was shipped to a KB
yeah,
Toys. It
that's
was
crazy.
supposed to be going to a KB Toys in, I want to say, like one of the New England states, like one of the higher up states.
Right.
I just forget which exact one, but it says it on the box. I have the box now in storage because I'm glad I didn't throw it out. But the actual thing itself is something I remember fondly of being told no because it was so expensive back then. But then look at the prices of it now, and then to get a brand new one is, it's in the four digits, and it's just a cool item that I feel accomplished. Like once I was able to get that, that was my number one item on my list for a long time. So I'm very happy to have acquired it last year, and then in the best condition at that.
It's awesome. I think the first thing I ever bought, like Pokemon related, besides cards, I think was Pokemon Fire Red. Because I think I
Mm.
just got a Game Boy Advance and I was like, there's games with Pokemon on them. And I was like, I need this game when it comes out. And
Oh
I
yeah.
played that game so much. And I've played the originals, but I played them after the fact of Fire Red. So Fire Red was my first one. So that one has a warm place in my heart compared
I
to
mean,
the other games.
it's a good way to play the original game. It cleans it up,
Yeah.
gives it a little more at that point HD look. Obviously, we have
Right.
like Let's Go, giving it the newest look, but still back then, like even when it was like the first instance of a remake, it just felt new. It just felt exciting
Yeah.
to revisit the area and see how much they've updated it. So it's a great game.
All right, for people who aren't as familiar with the podcast as some others may be, what is this whole Zevia cream soda thing about?
Yeah, we've had a long running gag on the podcast about drinking Zevia, which is a soda replacement type drink. And it started off as like we just genuinely drink it. Like I was drinking it, and I told Nate about it, and Nate started drinking it, and we both really liked it, so we started making it a part of the show, and then we started really making it a part of the show. No
Right.
sponsorship, we just it took it on, and then it wasn't until Danny came on board, who is that middle person who's like, yeah, Zevia is good, but like relax, guys. Like
Yeah.
really, like but then it turned into that I like the flavor cream soda, and Nate thinks it's the worst thing of all time.
Is it
And
just like, is it the Zevia cream soda, or is it just cream soda in general?
oh,
Because I cannot get my mind across that.
he dislikes all cream soda. Apparently, it's not
Oh.
just a Zevia thing, but it's across the board. If I could say on Zevia or on cream soda, he just doesn't like that flavor for
But
some reason.
he likes root beer, right?
He does like root beer. I don't think he's tried the new creamy root beer flavor. That just sounds it's absurd. I have no affiliation with Zevia. But yeah, so like I like the flavor. Danny likes the flavor for the ones she's tried. And Nate's just a hater of cream soda. He just doesn't like good things. So
It's basically just vanilla, right? Just like a vanilla flavor almost.
yeah, it's just a sweet taste. Like
Yeah.
it's just nice. Like I feel like I can pair that with anything. Like if I want just any flavor, like there's certain times I won't drink like a certain flavor depending on what I'm eating. But
Right.
the cream soda one just is a very neutral flavor that I can
Well,
drink with
it's kind of
anything.
like
So like
vanilla ice cream. Vanilla ice cream's always good, but then you
yeah,
can
it's
add stuff
plain
to
but
it
it
if you wanted
works.
to.
Yeah,
Right.
plain but it works.
All right, so you guys quote a lot of like movies and shows and memes in the podcast,
Mhm.
and those little things you throw in there are hilarious. But the ones that always like get me in my heart are the SpongeBob quotes. I've been quoting SpongeBob like daily, and hearing you guys do it just makes me feel like I grew up with you guys, and you have like the same like like built up home life or something like that.
Yeah, it's really interesting because with bringing Danny on board, who I was friends with before the podcast, obviously, but I wouldn't say as close obviously as we are now,
Right.
and it almost feels like we're one and the same person. We have constantly said the same thing at the same time. We get almost every joke that one of us will throw out to like complete the meme or the SpongeBob quote or all that
Right.
stuff. So it's just added on this layer of her and I annoying Nate at this point, which is just and then now his retaliation is the soundboard. So it's all been turning like at one point this podcast is not even going to be about Pokemon. Like it's going to be, hey, here's a podcast of references featuring Pokemon sometimes.
It's definitely funny to see, because I mean Nate usually, it seems like he tries to keep everything on track,
He tries.
like a plot point, like dot dot dot, we got to talk about these points, and then you or Danny always says something, and then you guys have to like finish each other's sentence or do something, or else it like kills you inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very much it's before we hit record, right? We'll say, all right, we're gonna hit record, we're gonna go, and then Danny and I will go for another 2 minutes of making weird voices and jokes, and then it'll be like a lull, and then Nate will go, "You guys done? You guys ready?"
I know,
So
before I've noticed that on most of the podcasts, you guys say that you've talked like an hour before starting to record.
it's gotten way worse. Like with most of our newer episodes, between 2.5 and 3 hours at this point. There is, so let's say on an average day we'd get together around 7 p.m. To start our call, and usually it'd be like, okay, we'll chat for 30 minutes to an hour, and then we'll hit record so we can catch up, plan the show, all that stuff. Now it's turned into an hour and a half to 2 hours of just whatever, catching up, chilling, talking, preparing, all that mixture. And then we'll record. We started recording in segments. So like we'll do the intro, and we'll get everything out to the Pokemon Center, and then we'll get all our news together, and then record all of the news in one bit, and then record the card pick of the week and ending in one bit, just so we can have breaks in between, because they are so long now.
Right.
And every time we finish recording one bit, it's like, okay, bathroom break, snack, drink, refills, all that, come back, record. So, like, for example, the other day we got together at 7 p.m. The podcast usually goes up at 3 a.m. Eastern. I was not done editing the podcast until 2:38 p.m. or 2:38 a.m. Eastern, because we got off the call at 1:45. So it was a very long call. That's not even the longest. I think the longest we did was we had a 12-hour call at one point. That was our longest one, because there was so we'll talk afterwards too while we're sending the files and everything. But it just happens. You know, you're around people you like, you just talk.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't feel like you guys do it in different sections. It feels like it flows together really nicely. It seems like it's just a continuous conversation almost.
Yeah, we try to keep it that way. That's why we segment it off between like the appropriate parts. Like once we're done with the Pokemon Center, before we get into the news, we'll take the cut right there. But the news is all shot at once, so it's continuous and everything. And then card pick, you know, we have the song that plays, so that's our quick break to you know, to freshen up, get ready,
right.
get
and then
another
Nate's always
drink,
gonna throw in
know.
the how much did Jordan Fringe.
Exactly.
All right.
Well, it's just little things now.
Yeah. Okay. So I have this idea for the end of all these interviews to have our guest share like a random funny story that happened to them, and then I would do my best to do a cute little animation for it after the interview. So if there's any random little story that you would like to share, it doesn't have to be funny, but I figured funny ones are the most memorable in people's lives usually, so no pressure.
Okay. I'll share. I'll do this because I just think these are fun. I do this to Danny every time we record. So when we cut to take a break and we all like leave, and it's just our chairs sitting there on camera, usually I'm one of the first people back, because I'll just go to the bathroom and grab another drink, and then I'm back. But everyone, you know, it takes a little bit longer sometimes, so I'll either hide somewhere on the camera, or I'll just stand off camera, and then Danny will get back, put her headphones on, and then I'll just kind of make a noise and see her like freak out to try and guess if I'm actually there or not. Because one time I had the chair spun around so you couldn't see who was sitting in it. And I sat there for a solid few minutes as she was sitting down, and I revealed that I was there after she started singing a song, and I continued singing the rest of the song, and it freaked her out, and she started laughing. She's like, how are you there? How is this real? Every time now, every week, I'll constantly do something to just kind of mess with her through the screen.
I've noticed you've been doing a lot of like cartoon or like old show kind of reviews and talk things on your YouTube channel. What's like what is all that about? I know you usually, because I connect you guys usually with Pokemon, so it's kind of cool to see somebody do something else, and then it's always these shows that I grew up with.
It's a long. The short story of it is I've always kind of changed my content every so often, because I get too used to making the same thing that it doesn't excite me anymore. So I've kind of been the let me try changing it up and switching my channel and doing different content, which has definitely resulted in a lot of backlash, because it's like, oh, you were known for this, now you're not doing that anymore. And then I've done Pokemon on and off.
I started with those like story time animations and stuff.
So you understand, like I did the Pokemon stuff for a while, and when I said, all right, I'm kind of done doing it again, because I've already done it multiple times on YouTube and I've had my fun with it, you know, you get backlash for it. But you know, I was told, you know, don't do this, it's gonna be a mistake. But I'm having more fun right now doing the cartoon stuff than anything I've done in a while. So, you know, I'm just having fun. I don't take it super serious. I just make whatever I find interesting, and that's all I really want out of it at the end of the day, is to make something that I would watch.
Yeah, I have to keep telling myself that, because of course I would love to, like, you know, make these little cartoons and animations as like a job, and be able to do my own stuff like on my YouTube channel. But once I lose focus on like enjoying it and I'm trying to grow and like the business aspect of YouTube, I think that's when it starts stressing me out. So I have to kind of remind myself like, hey, I want to make these cartoons because I like making them. And then if people like them too, they'll watch the videos and then eventually it'll work out. So you got to do what makes you happy, and then just hope it works out in the end.
Well, what I always say is if you have a vision or a passion for something that you love and you have a certain goal that you want to do with it, as long as you keep telling yourself, I am going to do it, and you work towards that and keep putting your time and effort into it, anyone can do anything. So if you want to be an animator, full working on a film or working on bigger projects on YouTube or whatever the case may be in your situation, as long as you put forth that energy for yourself and believe in yourself behind your work and keep, spending time improving and getting better at your craft, then there's no doubt in my mind that you'll make it to the exact goal that you want to be at.
Wow. Inspirational quotes. All right. So this has nothing to do with the interview or anything at all, but I typed this down in my notes in the same section for some reason. I don't know if I was trying to keep it fresh in my memory, but I had a random thought, I guess, while I was taking down these questions. But have you been on an airplane before?
Yeah, many a time. Yeah.
So I've always thought like the toilets in there are weird, because it's like when I was little, I thought like when you would flush it, it would just like fly out of the plane, and I just thought it would randomly.
I think we all had that same thought. Yeah,
and I just thought it would like randomly hit somebody in the ground or whatever. But like, do they actually do that, or is it just like a flying porta potty? Like
it's like a flying porta potty. There's like there's like that air suction is like really heavy, but it doesn't like just shoot it out into the into the air.
That's the thing. Like I also thought, because I was like, okay, they flush super aggressive because they can't have a clogged toilet up in the clouds, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, is it just a normal toilet, but the atmosphere's pressure makes it flush hard, or do they make it flush hard on purpose?
See, I don't know the science behind the velocity of the flush, but I do know there's a tank in there that catches all that they empty and and clean every time the flight touches down. It's part of one of the maintenances, or probably it can store up to a few flights before they have to change it if they. I don't know what the regulations are. I just know there's a tank in there, but that is a good question. I don't know why they flush as hard as they do. Maybe it's just to scare you.
I know the first time I used it, I almost died. I was like, "What the heck?" I thought it was gonna like suck me through it or something.
Yeah, you sit back down, like that thing almost it took me with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for being the first guest on Couch Talk, and it's the end. So if there's anything in your life you want to share, YouTube, Instagram, any updates, this is your time.
Well, I'm just making some content a couple times a week on the YouTube channel, same name, Jordan Fringe. And sometimes I post my Pokemon stuff and other collectibles on Instagram, which is Fringe Collects. But other than that, I got other things working on. But as far as what we can talk about, check out those, as well as the Shadowless podcast that I do with Real Breaking Nate and Super Duper Danny every single Wednesday on all the podcast services, and we have a YouTube channel. So
awesome. Thanks for coming, Jordan.
Thanks for having me on.